2 is better than 1, or so they say. Hello, this is AnlineOffline. I would say welcome back to another Casuals Quick Guide, but this is going to be a bit more complicated. For today's video, we'll be analyzing the Akimbo perk, which allows a weapon to be dual-wielded, but said weapon will only be available in hipfire. Twice has Akimbo been added to the game, and twice has it impacted the meta. Meta is a controversial and potentially ever-changing subject. Some eras were more unbalanced than others, some more long-lasting than others. Although short-lived, nothing since then compares to when Akimbo was first added to the Fennec. Whereas most weapons had a time to kill that was slow by most COD standards, but fair to the average human reaction time, Akimbo Fennecs could ace entire teams within a portion of that time span. So, how was it nerfed? On top of nerfing attachments to the base weapon, Akimbo received some new but vague downsides. Range is self-explanatory. For the fire rate, Akimbo weapons are essentially treated as burst weapons. Pull the trigger once and 2 bullets are fired. Not simultaneously, but with a 3-frame delay in between. But with a weapon with a fast enough fire rate like the Fennec, these bullets can overlap and thus make the time to kill as fast as it was. The devs introduced a delay in order to prevent this sort of duplex overlap, essentially reducing the fire rate of each individual weapon, similar to how Akimbo is handled in other CODs. And the most extreme change was reducing the initial damage by nearly half, although other ranges may vary. Moving on to Akimbo on the 50 GS or Desert Eagle, they weren't nearly as broken, but they were quite frustrating to deal with. The initial 14 to 15% damage reduction doesn't affect its tube shot potential, and had the potential to 1 burst in 3 frames. But if you use lightweight trigger, you could increase your fire rate and shorten the burst delay down to 2 frames. It's difficult to balance Akimbo. Either it's noob friendly and very powerful, or it's borderline unusable like it is nowadays. The Fennec is okay, although it is better by itself. And for the Desert Eagle, there's no accuracy. But if we were to take the Deagle as a template, what would happen if all the pistols had access to Akimbo? Starting off with a weapon most similar to the Deagle, the J358. Stopping power is not worth mentioning in the case of Akimbo, as it shares nearly identical stats with the Desert Eagle, which we already established as not good with Akimbo. It does have longer range, which cannot be fully utilized if exclusively hipfired. It also has a smaller magazine. Base version is more interesting as it does have a faster fire rate than the Desert Eagle, which may be good, but the hipfire performance on either the Revolver or Desert Eagle are unreliable. As a backup weapon, it might still be worth using though. Next up is the MW11 or 1911. Even with lightweight trigger, the base 1911 can be a slow killing weapon. Its hipfire performance is nothing special either, but if you were to add Akimbo on it, there is a bit of a damage drop off, but you might still be able to 3-shot, and with a lightweight trigger affecting the burst delay, it might be a fair trade-off for not being able to ADS. If Modern Warfare 2019 and Warzone is anything to go by, Akimbo on the Renetti is both complicated and concerning. Unlike its Modern Warfare 2019 counterpart, Mobile's Renetti is select fire by default. A single Renetti is high risk, high reward weapon. Lightweight trigger has no effect on its fire rate, although it might still be able to affect the Akimbo burst delay. Even with the expected damage nerf, the Renetti can still 1 burst, but with less demanding probability. On top of that, unlike most other pistols, the Renetti has access to a 3rd attachment that can boost its hipfire performance. With the ability to fire 6 bullets at once, it's almost like a shotgun. Speaking of which, recently the Shorty has been buffed and no one has talked about it. At first glance at those bounce changes, it may seem like a nerf, now requiring 5 out of 9 as opposed to 4 out of 8 pellets to kill. What wasn't specified was the pellet pattern. For reliable hipfire one-shots, you need to land all the pellets in the center plus 1. For ADS, it's plus 2, and all of that depends on your pellet damage over range. Previously for the Shorty, it was 2 in the center and 6 around. Now it's 5 in the center, 4 around. thus making it more hipfire oriented, and it has the potential to 2-tap up until 10 meters. Not only that, but the fire rate has also been buffed as well. So if Akimbo were to be added, it would be very good. It would be pretty close to the Akimbo 1887 from Modern Warfare 2. As for slug rounds, we don't talk about those. There's really not much to say about the crossbow with Akimbo. It was available in Black Ops 3 as a supply drop weapon. And yes, the crossbow does have access to multiple ammo conversions like the one in Modern Warfare 2019. And there's also attachments to boost its hipfire, but it's all redundant on a weapon that can already one-tap. And the crossbow is mostly used for utility anyway. If anything, one might purposely reduce their hipfire accuracy in order to cover more ground with these utility bolts. And last but not least, the new LCAR-9 Sheen pistol from Black Ops 3. The expected damage nerf is enough to increase the number of shots to kill, and it also doesn't have access to lightweight trigger. With the new expected time to kill, I think that this is the most fair when it comes to adding Akimbo. With all that said and done, what are the takeaways? What's the good, the bad, the ugly? Well, the MW11, the LCAR, and the base revolver might be good with Akimbo, but they won't be overpowered. The revolver with stopping power and the crossbow won't benefit much. And as for the Renetti and the Shorty, they might be overpowered. They might need an extra damage nerf. And that's just if we use the Akimbo Deagles as a template. If we were to use the Fennec as a template, none of these would be good. I could continue to speculate on the effectiveness of adding Akimbo on other weapons that have had them previously in the other CODs like the P90, the MP5, or most infamously the 1887, but I'll discuss those when they get their own guides. This video has gone on long enough, and as it stands, using Akimbo is like a relationship advice. You're better off single. My name is On, and I'm off.